The three figures shuffled through the huddled masses of the morning market. Sellers hawked their goods with elaborate turns of phrase, and the smells of life collided like crashing waves. Myrick and Zaffar trailed the cloaked figure. They didn't know his name or even his face. Occasionally, a pale hand would emerge from the cloak to inspect some fruit or run the fibers of a woven fabric through his fingers. "His name is Saramir." The voice that emerged from within the cloaked shadow was like a whisper amongst the general hubbub of the morning market. "He's a priest of Madeira, who's been a little too vocal." "Since when do the sweeps take umbrage against preachers?" Myrick said, looking off in the other direction, eyes running across the crowd but landing on no one. "Preach Geed, preach Ord, preach the lost for all I care, but the sweeps care for neutrality. Neutrality is the blind eye under which organizations like ours prosper. Law and chaos. There for those with a higher cause in the pursuit of fine metals." "Why not just kill him?" Zaffar asked. "Not every problem is solved with the swing of a blade. He's wanted alive. The why is none of your concern. He arrives each dawn to the temple, alone." Myrick and Zaffar nodded and moved off into the crowd, each in their own direction. Hey, welcome back. My name is ASREL. I'm the author of a solo RPG podcast called the Dicewright, and today we are carrying on our solo Shadowdark campaign using the Dicewright Solo RPG Engine and the fantastic OSR game Shadowdark. So, last we left off, a very dramatic turn of events occurred in which, as the party, Myrick and Zaffar, were fleeing the city or the town from which they had taken their captive Saramir. They stopped to catch their breath and to inspect their prisoner. When they removed the gag from the prisoner's mouth, they discovered that actually the prisoner was being hunted by something, and whatever was hunting the prisoner would go on to be a danger to the chimney sweeps as well. That thing then appeared on the road, and it arrived in the form of 4 spectral shadows, dark shapes moving from out of the forest. It proceeded to attack the party. Myrick, Zaffar, and Saramir, the priest, tried to fend off the attackers. They slew one creature, but they were prevented from having a true victory when Saramir jumped in to somewhat save the day by actually looking to almost take his own life, and that stayed the hand of the shadows. Saramir offered himself up in return to receive the freedom of Zaffar and Myrick. However, it was too late for Zaffar, who had already been struck down by the shadows, and despite his best efforts, Myrick could not save him. So our sea wolf, our barbarian-type character Zaffar, died there on the side of the road. And that's where we return today. We now have 2 organizations in search of, or aiming to capture Saramir, the priest. One, a shadowy organization with dark forces pursuing on the road. Another, the chimney sweeps, the thieves guild that are perhaps Robin Hood-esque, stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. But as we rejoin the party, then we rejoin a solo character. We rejoin Myrick on the road. And before we go forward, I want to make a slight tweak to how I approach XP within this campaign. In Shadowdark, the standard system for XP is that XP is gained only through the acquisition of treasure. However, I like the idea of gaining XP also for the defeating of creatures. I just find that an enjoyable component of games. And so I'm going to do both acquisition of treasure and defeating of creatures, both facilitating XP gain. And given the shadows were a level 3 monster, I will award 3 XP to Myrick for having brought down at least one of those monsters. This obviously will cause a increase in the pace at which characters gain XP, but from my experiences of Shadowdark so far, XP gain has been very, very slow. And in solo play, I do find treasure to be a little bit less forthcoming, or at least in my games, because I don't play a very traditional dungeon delving type game. Treasure just becomes a little bit less forthcoming, and so I think awarding XP based on monsters as well is good. I will also be checking to see if the corpse or the non-corporeal corpse of the shadow left any loot or treasure. And that is a roll on a d6. On a 4, 5, or 6, there is treasure. 1, 2, 3, there is nothing. That is a 4. So we do actually have some treasure to discover on this monster's corpse as well. You say corpse, but it's, you know, shadow. It's an ethereal nothingness. So we will roll on our D100 table, level 0 to 3 treasure table, and that gives us 35, which is 12 gold pieces in the pocket of a ripped cloak. So as the shadow dissipates, 12 gold pieces clank to the ground, and so as an additional bonus, Myrick gains some more coins to add to his pack. That brings him up to 34 gold. Oh, no, that's not right. That brings him up to 29 gold pieces. And an additional 1 XP for the minor gain of gold. So Myrick is now up to 4 XP out of 20. As a reminder, he's a level 2 character. However, he is now solo. So I have rolled my twist check at the end of that first story beat of the chapter. I rolled a 3 on that twist check, so there is no twist, and the chapter continues as expected. The question now is, Myrick is alone. He pulls the body of Zaffar off the side of the road. He makes a small cairn out of stones and things that he finds around to give Zaffar somewhat of a burial. He knows little of Zaffar's history or culture or homeland, and so he's uncertain of the exact funeral rites that Zaffar would want, but he does his best to lay him to rest appropriately, and then he sets out upon the road. Setting out on the road, he is now in search of allies. He needs to know where these shadows might have gone. He needs allies to go and pursue them and get back Saramir. As a reminder, the quest is to deliver Saramir to an isolated location, perhaps a prison or a headquarters of the sweeps. So my first question of the day is there a town or a village nearby? And I'm going to roll that with advantage because I think it's reasonably likely. Let's have a look. And that is a 6. Now, I'm already making tweaks to the Solo RPG Engine, so I've made some adjustments to our Oracle system based on my experiences so far. And so the Oracle for yes, now moves from extreme no, no but, no, yes, yes and, extreme yes. Yeah, that's the new system. And so that is an extreme yes. What an extreme yes tells me, I believe, is that we are nearing a big city. And I want to know, is that city Meridia, the capital city that we looked at in our interlude phase? I'm just going to roll this with a straight 50-50. It's a 1. So that is actually an extreme no. So we have maybe a rival city. That's what extreme no seems to tell me. So let's learn a little bit more about this particular city. And for that, we will flip to the maps section, settlement maps 134. So we know it's a city. Let's have a little look about what we can determine about this particular city. So our city name, first off, is a 5, Rulan. Okay, Rulan is the name of our city. Let's roll a couple of points of interest within this city as well. So let's do 2 of these. So D20, so 4, a natural landmark, and also 4, being attacked by an invader. Okay, so there's some kind of invasion going on within this city, within a natural landmark. So what I think that means is Rulan is a city built around a rocky outcropping. It is a tall spire of rock atop which the central kind of town hall or barren squall type thing sits, and the city wraps around it like a ring. Because it's a rocky outcropping and it's being invaded, I think it's being invaded by some flying creatures. So I'm going to pause there. I'm going to go look in the Shadowdark book, see if I can find out what creatures are invading the city of Rulan. Okay, so as Myrick stumbles forward on the road, he is very hurt as well. His wounds are still running. He still feels the vicious blow of the arrow that he took to the back on leaving the previous town. He is approaching the city of Wulan. This city is a walled city. Beyond the walls, you can see the towering rooftops and red tiles of the city's roofs, and beyond that you can see the central rocky spire at the center of the city. Atop the rocky spire sits a grand hall, and this is where the local baron rules over this region. But he can see on the slate grey sky, he can see the sight of several winged creatures moving around the hall, just in and out of range, and he can see arrows loosing into the sky and the creatures dodging out of the way. And on the blow of the wind, he thinks, with the most distant of kind of whispered sounds, he thinks he can hear an enchanting song. Rulan is being attacked by several harpies, and they are going straight for the Baron's Hall. Perhaps there's a grudge, perhaps that's something that we can understand about the relationship between Rulan and Meridia, the capital city. Perhaps the vengeful king is enacting a revenge in all aspects of his life. I think that sounds really interesting, and so potentially something to explore, and I will put that onto our NPCs and our factions list as well. But as Myrick approached the city, I also rolled on Knave's city theme tables to understand a little bit more about this city, and I got the city is themed around a particular faction, and rolling on the faction table, I actually got the faction was a fencing school. So I took that to mean that there is a kind of warrior school here within the city of Rulan, which for Myrick is fantastic. He's just lost his warrior, now he needs to go find a new one. So he slips up to the city walls, and he finds that the guards are distracted. The guards are looking up. They see him approach, and they say, yep, on you go, don't waste my time. And Myrick nods and doesn't take, doesn't ask twice, and slips inside the city and begins walking through the streets. There's a panicked sense around the people of Rulan as they can all see what's happening, and they're uncertain and they're unsure. And Myrick makes straight for the nearest tavern. And so let's go back to our towns area and let's discover what this tavern might be. So we're going to roll 3 d20s. Green will be first, blue will be second, and red will be third. So we get 15. That is the gilded. 10 is pig, the gilded pig. 3, and is known for wizard patrons. Okay, interesting. So as he runs down the streets, he sees the sign of a pig with a golden crown atop his swine head, and he makes straight for it. He doesn't ask questions. First tavern he sees, he barrels straight inside. The tavern is loud. He goes up to the bar and he orders the first drink he sees, which is, let's see, 2d6, 3. So he orders himself some vinegary wine. He throws the 5 copper pieces onto the tabletop, and as soon as he starts drinking it, he tastes the over sweetness and the horrible taste, and his teeth begin to be stained purple. He actually loses 1 charisma for an hour. That's not good, considering we need that right now in order to convince some people to join us. But we're in now a town where there is a warrior school, but this particular tavern is known for wizard patrons. So let's ask the question, do we find a wizard or a warrior? So I think let's roll a d6. A 1, 2, 3 will be a wizard. A 4, 5, 6 will be a warrior. That's a 2. So the first person that Myrick sees, let's understand a little bit more about who this person might be. Okay, so first off, I'm actually going to use the rival crawlers generator to go through and sort of randomly create the basis of the character, and then we can go away and add a little bit more flesh onto the bones there. So first off, a d12 for the ancestry. What race is our character here? That's an 8. That is a dwarf. Okay, we have a dwarf wizard coming down the track. That's interesting. So we know that they're a wizard, so we won't roll on the class section, but we will roll on the alignment. That's a 5. A chaotic dwarf wizard. Liking where this is going. Renown. Let's see if they are well known or not. That is a 5. Widely recognized. Okay. So perhaps actually Myrick sees him and Myrick recognizes him. But let's roll a secret. That is an 11, which is suffering a curse. Okay. So, dwarf, wizard, chaotic, known, and suffering a curse. That is awesome. So, last thing, wealth. Do we want to roll on that? Let's have a look. 3, standard. So, no big dramatic changes there. Let's see if we can get a little bit of more information about them. So let's generate ourselves a name, and then an identifier I think will be cool as well. So first off, a name for our dwarf. That is a 5, Olga. Fantastic. Olga, dwarf. And she will be Olga. And we roll 2d4 to determine this one. Let's grab that on the d4. 1 and 3, so 1 along, 3 down. Olga the Elder. Okay, so she's an elder dwarf. No wonder she's known, she's been around. Let's see if there's anything else that we want to throw in there. Do you want to throw in like any kind of visible interest on them? Let's see, so let's see. Let's go for what they do. So give a little bit of a kind of personality to them. That's a 7. Apologetic. Okay, so that's a little bit interesting, seeing she's chaotic. But perhaps it's just a front she puts up. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so Myrick comes in to the Gilded Pig. He grabs his wine, he begins to sip it down, and he stands at the bar surveying the crowd. The usual gaggle of patrons are in there, all sorts of kind of working folk from within the town, perhaps some travelers in there as well. Nothing really catches his eye until he sees the cloaked figure, and he sees the robes and the gilding along the edge and the fine colors and weaves, and he knows that this is absolutely a wizard of some sorts. And as she turns her head, her thick graying hair kind of falling long over her shoulders, she turns her head and he recognizes the face of Olga the Elder, a known wizard of dubious reputation, let's say, but someone that Myrick is aware of, if not having met or interacted with them personally. And so Myrick is going to order another drink. And he's going to see if he can spend a little bit more coin to get something a little bit better. So if we jump back into that section, around on the board, let's see what we got. So I'm going to give him a d8 on this roll because he's going to throw some extra coin at this, and let's see what we get. That's another 3, so we'll roll again. That's a 6. House ale, crisp and clean. The first mug is free. Well, I think he will actually have to pay for this, not have it to be free. But he does go up and he pays this couple of silver pieces to get crisp house ale. And so with his wine and the ale for the dwarf, he saunters over the table and places the cup of ale down upon the table, gestures to the chair and says, "May I?" And the dwarf turns and looks up at him and says, "Sure." And he sits down, places his cup down, and smiles, and she recoils a little bit at the sight of his stained teeth. I'm actually going to go ahead and use a reaction table to see her initial opinion about Myrick. Okay, so Myrick has a standard plus 0 to charisma, so now has a -1. So I'll be rolling using the old school essential style reaction roll. So 2d6, and it ranges from high as good to low as bad. And if it comes out that they will actually attack, obviously I think that will be like, you know, perhaps a verbal attack, maybe not a physical attack. But let's just see the general vibe that Olga has towards Myrick. That is a 2 and a 6. So that is an 8. Uncertain, confused, realistic, I think. So she stares down at she stares up, perhaps, at the elf who now sits beside her with his stained teeth. And Myrick says, "Listen, I believe I know you by name, if not by relation. If I'm correct, you are Olga the Elder." She just grunts and nods. He says, "Well, I'm in a rather difficult spot. I'm doing some work for an organization of sorts, and, well, the object of my goal has kind of slipped through my fingers, and it was taken from me," and he looks around and surveys who might be listening to him, "by several shadows. They seemed to want the object of my quest as much as my employer did. And I was wondering, as a mage of some reputation, whether or not you may have heard any rumors along those lines." So he will pause and let's ask the question, is Olga the Elder aware of any rumors of a shadowy organization? I think I'm going to roll this with advantage. She's a kind of well thought of chaotic aligned wizard who's been around for some time. I think it's very likely that this character would know at least something about this scenario. That's a 5 and a 2. So that's 5 is a yes and. So when we consider what that means, no, actually, that's not correct. I think what I wanted to do with this, I know in here it says yes and, but I think what I wanted to do with this is yes but, because yes and extreme yes are sort of the same thing, really. So I think what I'm aiming for here is extreme no, no but, no yes, yes but, extreme yes. So like extreme yes, you can think of as like yes and or something along those lines. So we're going to call that a yes but, which means she does, but she's reluctant to share it. Is she reluctant, or is she actually afraid because whatever this organization is has some influence over her? Is she being influenced by the organization? 3. So that's a no. Okay, so she's just reluctant to share, perhaps because she doesn't trust Myrick to this point. So Myrick says, I can see recognition in your eyes, and you may not want to share with me yet. That's absolutely fine, but I need assistance in tracking down my friend. What can I do? How can I bring you to my side? I will do what you ask. So he's going to ask Olga for perhaps a job to do, or something that he can do to prove his worth to her. So let's actually go into the quests section of Shadowdark and see if we can find a small job that Olga has that Myrick may be able to do to win her allegiance. So let's have a look. D20, again, our green will be first, our blue will be second, and our red will be third. So let's see, that's a 9, a 2, and a 16. So we have bribe, the prisoner, sacrificing innocence. Okay, that's interesting. So a prisoner who is sacrificing innocence needs to be bribed. Let us pause and understand what might be happening there. Okay, so when I think about why there is a prisoner who is also sacrificing innocence, my thought came to mind back to the Baron's Hall that was being invaded by harpies. And what came to mind was actually the Baron himself is a prisoner. He's a prisoner of the harpies. They're not actually directly attacking him yet, but they are just surrounding his hall so that he cannot leave. for some reason that we are yet to discover. But he is now trying to sacrifice or feed the harpies captives that he's taking off the streets, and his guards are taking off the streets of this city, the city of Rulan. So Olga's sister perhaps has been captured in this way, and she wants you to find a way to release her sister. If you can do that, she says, then sure, I will tell you what I know, and even perhaps go with you. This is a difficult quest for Myrick, but I've added it to our quest list here. I've given that a D6 rating, so this will be a shorter quest, but that is what Myrick is now tasked with. And he nods. Yes, of course. This will be a trifle, not a problem at all. And he stands up, he slings his bow over his back, and he slips out of the Gilded Pig back onto the busy streets where the scared voices point up at the harpies towering above the stone spire of the center of the city. And he slips into the streets, all the while pondering how he might persuade the Baron to release a prisoner into his own command. And that'll be the end of the story beat. So I will roll our twist check, and with that will also be the end of our episode. So let's see if we get a twist. That's a 3, no twist yet. We will press on to see how Myrick goes about his quest of retrieving Olga the Elder's sister, in the hopes of bringing a new ally into his fold. And with that, I will end the episode there. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Really appreciate all the comments I've had so far, and I very much appreciate all the support. I appreciate all the constructive feedback as well. This system is still very much in development, and I am obviously still very much learning the art of filming these YouTube videos. I've had one comment around AI art within the videos as well. I'm always torn on this. I love being able to provide some visuals to the video and some visuals that actually relate to the scenes that are happening, but I do appreciate the different opinions people have on AI art. Absolutely, in my ideal scenario, I would have human art. I think so far what I've found is any repository of public domain art is so difficult to search through to find anything kind of really meaningful. It just wouldn't be a time relevant activity to go and find relevant pictures for that. But would love to hear everyone else's feedback as well. If the overwhelming opinion is that the AI art detracts from the video, I'll obviously look for an alternative way around that. But please continue to leave your comments and thoughts in the comments below. If you are enjoying, please give this a like, give this a subscribe, share it with people who you think might like it. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next one.